guys, Tambo here with your weekly core report. It was an amazing week last week, loaded with winners across multiple sports. Here are some of the highlights. We kick off things in the college football streets where our members have been crushing. Phil Mix Bra hit for $1,500, while Freddie 11 won $3,400. In MMA, 57 Lions had a nice ROI, turning $100 into over $1,000. And Agency Arms LLC hit for $2.9K in NHL. Just a reminder, our memberships include all sports for one price. World Cup kicks off next week too, and we'll have a ton of content to help you shift. So sign up today and let's start running pure. In the NFL, RPS ran the leaderboards once again. I landed my 5th King of the Beach ticket. D. Bailey 2106 hit for $5K. J. Rex 777 won $38K. And D. Kafer shipped the 3rd live final seat. Our biggest sport last week was the NBA, where our members shipped left and right. Our NBA content has been on fire, and you can catch our daily shows for free by subscribing to our YouTube channel right now. ROI was strong in NBA last week too. Connor turned $28 into $1,700 using KFALIK's core. Chunky Blue turned $14 into $1,700. Junior turned $64 into $1,800. Chargers 0616 hit for $2K, while Brandon 2323 won over $10K. Our coordinators joined in as well, with Bobby Hare winning $14K. Mangone hit for $16K, while KFALIK shipped for $44,000. Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in our weekly core report, drop your winning lineup in our Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. And while you're watching, hit that like button now. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Till next time, let's keep running pure.
What up, everybody? Welcome to the Weekend Review Show here. I'm your host, as always, JSU, bringing it to you with my 2 favorite Weekend Review crew members. I got my favorite Canadian, Mr. Toe Tag and Tambo, and Mr. KFALIK. Both these guys coming off nice little days where they won some seats to the King of the Beach. So I got to shout out my my crew members for qualifying for the King of the Beach. One of them, actually, another crew member is calling me during the show. Big T, he doesn't even realize that I'm on the damn show now. He rejected my phone call, Falik, and he's calling me now during the show. I'm sure you deal with this all the time, but yeah, he might not remember that we do the show every Monday morning at 11 a.m.
Yeah, no, it's just very hurtful. He'll probably show up here at some point once you text him saying that you're on a show, or once all the members start attacking him in the live show chat.
Can I say you donkey him on a show right now? Should I pull a Big T?
Go for it.
Give it right back to him.
He can join the show, and he can finally feel as if this week didn't go well for him, and it went all well for the 3 of us so far. We have not only Tambo and I have the opportunity to win a lot of money, while JSU just wins a lot of money. Another Showdown shipper for JSU. And Tambo and I are just the beach buds. I can't wait to see Tambo and his tan lines that are going to come out in San Diego on our catamaran ride on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm definitely very pale.
This is the gambler I'm at. I'll give you the money that I won, Falik. I'll take the seat and the chance to win 200 or 250 or whatever's up top there. That'll be fun for you guys. Hopefully, one of you guys ships it, or another RPS member. I saw there was other people from RPS.
DGA made it.
DGA made it. I saw that.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. No,
she's going back to back too, by the way. I met her there last year. Her and her husband were there, and it was a great time down in Florida. And so she went all the way back through, had 1 seat, got it through. So congrats to her as well.
Yeah, it's always good when you have one and you get it through, and then you see guys with like multiple and they just miss and stuff like that. It's hard. It's hard to win, right, Tambo? Just because you have a lot of seats doesn't mean that that qualifier is the easiest thing. I know so many people who've had the max. I don't know what the max was this year, 5 or 6, whatever it was, but I know so many people in this style tournament who have gotten the max and just expect, you expect like to get at least one through, and they get none through. I know a bunch of good players too. It's a hard format to get in, right? Talk about it a little, because you've gotten in. This is probably what, your 3rd or 4th year now?
Yeah, I think it's 4 in the last 5 that so 2017 was when I met you. Actually, that's a funny story, but that was the year that I first got to it. That was 3rd place. 2018, I got in, not a good result. 2019, I didn't make it to the live. And then, so every year but 2019, last year got 2nd, but it is hard. And I know Whistles Go Woo was on the show with Big T probably a couple months ago now, talking about Showdown and mentioning that he actually ended up winning the Mega Millie the week while everyone was down in King of the Beach, but he blasted off his 5 seats and did not get to the live portion of the King of the Beach that year. He won the Millie while we were all down there, which was cool. And congrats to him for that and all his other success. But that was interesting. And then, like me yesterday, I said to everyone on the show, if I could trade my 5 seats out to just get 2 and not have to do it, I would be happy. I would have just done it and traded off, the chance at having all 5. Luckily, I ended up getting 2 through, but the guy that won last year, K-Bone's kicker, he last year came 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 7th, I think, with 4 entries. He had 5 in yesterday and put the exact same lineup in. They all came 83rd place. He gets 0 through to the finals, but he took the shot to try and get all 5. That's the risk versus reward strategy. I prefer to get down there, have 1 or 2 to work with. And like you said, Jess, you have at least a chance at the top. And so that's how I played it. I was pretty fortunate down the stretch, but it's a great format. I love it because to me, it's the most pure. Anybody can get in. It's 5 entry max. It's not 150. There's buy-ins from $5 up through $500, where it basically fits anybody's bankroll. So you truly do have to compete with everybody and find your way there, versus in the live final, like the FFWC, which I also think is its own format and love it, that you are playing the best of the best, because it's also most that have the bankroll that got it from playing and putting their work and time in, and they got that bankroll to be able to play in these higher dollar queues, where you then compete with the toughest people to get to the toughest final to get to the top. So I put all the respect to that one. I actually still have never qualified for the FFWC, so it's another goal on my list. All the respect to those that do, but I do love King of the Beach for the format that you are going up against everybody, and anybody can have a fair chance to get in. I think it's great, Jazz. You've been there in the past. You played it. I mean, add your thoughts. KFALIK had to take off for a second, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of these live finals, a few of them with the football FFWC. I've been to one of the King of the Beaches where I met you that year. NBA finals, they're all really hard. In the end, it's really hard to get there. I do kind of like the formatting though of the King of the Beach, where you win and then you go and do like the secondary tournament where they get it down a little, kind of like how golf does it, right? Golf does it. I've never been to a golf live final, but I've been to like that qualifying round before the live final, and I've had a few chances in those. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it better, honestly, where you got to win, but then you got to win again to get there. It's kind of cool.
Some people don't like it because the fact that it's like, if I win in, I just want to get there and have my shot. But to your point, from a competitor standpoint, we all want the money. I like the trophies. I want to add the first place trophy for sure. But I'm saying that's the kind of extra pureness to it, or the competition side of it is you don't just get a free pass. You have to win in with everybody in the qualifier round, get into round 1. Then you have to beat that format to get to the final. And then at the final, you're playing of the best that did it throughout the whole setup of how it shakes out. So I do really like that aspect of it, even though you have to change gears with strategies. To me, that brings better competitiveness to it, and more of a true player that put the time in and the effort to learn the strategy for each different angle. I think that's how you would look at it.
But Tambo, the one thing I like is how it condenses down the field. And I like my shot of winning a lot of money against lesser people. So if that means I got to do a round 2 to weed out a bunch of people, I'm in for it. You know what I mean? I'm in for some type of thing. I'll take my chances or my shot, because I like the idea of $1 million or 500K, and I only got to beat 74 people or 99 people or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So that's That's what I like personally. I like the 100-man live finals are like the best. That's the perfect number in my opinion. You get 100, not people, but entries into one tournament. Everyone can only have up to 5 or whatever the max is, and you just take your shot at it. That's the way I like it. I don't like it when they do like 200 or I like how they condense it. So I like the King of the Beach style. Kevin, you got any comments on just like the live final styles and stuff, what you prefer?
Oh, I like smaller, anything with smaller entries possible is what I like, because I'm going to be different and I'm going to play for the win. And I know that I can attack what is going to be over-owned pieces potentially in spots, and you can really identify what the chalk is going to be. We saw it. I was with y'all at the NBA final, and we saw it with all of those guys. I can't remember what team it was, but it was it was Maxi Kleber. There was Denver or Dallas that night.
Yeah, we played Dwight Powell. We played Dwight Powell on top of Maxi Kleber's head.
Yeah, so those are it's the same situation. You can always take advantage of leverage spots. It's honestly what got me through yesterday. As I said to y'all before, Pittsburgh was insanely chalky in the King of the Beach. Like, I know they were insanely chalky period, but they're 44% owned in the King of the Beach. And I attacked it with playing Cincinnati and Pittsburgh stack, and it worked out for me really nicely. It's funny is it was a 37-30 game, and I got 0 touchdowns from receivers and running backs. I had my 2 running backs get hurt. My receivers still did well, but my 2 running backs got hurt and still was able to easily get there. God only knows what would have happened if Warren and Mixon didn't get hurt and accounted for a few of those touchdowns that went to the running backs. So who knows?
That is crazy. You had that many guys from that game and you didn't get 1 touchdown.
That is
pretty wild in that style game. But hey, yeah, I remember though, if for anyone who has a chance to go to like a live final or something like that, I remember my first time ever going, and I remember playing it so wrong and then looking back on it and going, if I ever get back to one of these things, I'm not going to care about like who I'm fading, or I'm just going to play the way I normally play. And I like changed everything up. I was like scared to fade like chalk guys and stuff like that. And I remember ever since that point, if you ever get a chance to go to one, my advice would be literally just play it to take your shot. Don't play it to just be there. Play it to take your shot to win, and don't be afraid to just play other guys or play guys that no one's on if you really have a feel about them, because that was my one mistake the first time I got there. I had a really good team, but I was just afraid to fade a couple chalk spots. And so like it was a fine day, but I didn't play it to actually win. I played it to be like 10th, which is what I ended up, instead of playing it to try and win first. And that was a mistake that I've never made since then, but that was the first time I ever went. If you have a chance, don't make that mistake. Just literally play it like you got one shot and take it to win. Don't take it to just be there.
Yeah, at least put your money where you feel comfortable. That's why I tell everyone always messaging me, like even for the round 1 stuff. Yes, like should I try this lineup? What do you think of this? Or on a general week-to-week basis, when someone wins it's typically when someone wins a qualifier to a tournament higher than they're used to playing in, they freeze up, right? That's what I always say. And this is a review show. It does tie into it. You should always be working on what you want to be good at. If you want to get into the 555 tournaments or the 333s and get better at them, know that you'll probably only have one shot. It'll be a $9 cue that you dabble in and eventually you hit for one. And now you've got that one ticket. So you should be practicing your single entry game or something along those lines to be working on it for when the time comes. But at the very least, even if you want to play chalk guy, like that's where it's whatever, it's your money, it's your spot in the final, go ahead. But just don't ever leave a tournament saying, I wish I stuck with this lineup or I should have done that. It's not even about being that person where you're like, oh, if I had just done this, I would have had the winner. It's not that. It's when you have the one shot and you're putting your money behind it, put your money where you feel best about it, where when you go home with an L, if you do, you'll say, at least I played the lineup that I wanted to play. And if you get the win, you'll feel so good about it because the conviction of I played what I wanted to play, I stuck with my gut, and I shipped this thing. That's all I would say is, definitely put your money behind what you feel best about. Don't let others' thoughts influence, or take you off something you had a feel about. I always say that and try and preach it as much as possible. I think Nice Kevin asked, I think there's at least one person, Nev's 204, 2904, common reg in these. He's got 4 seats. I think that's the most for King of the Beach. He asked if anyone had more than 3 seats.
That's impressive because I'm sure there are a lot of people that had 3+ chances. There had to be a good number of people.
There was one person I saw that had like, what was the 6 lineups Tambo some guy had, and he literally played the exact same lineup and he bubbled on all 6. I can't remember what his name.
That's what I was saying. You had to step out. So that is, they all came 81st. It was a max of 5. So he played his all 5 the same, but that is the winner of King of the Beach last year. He came first. There was 3 trophies to give out. They brought me up for second place first because he won first and third. And he came up and got his 2 trophies. They always do the winner last, but I was wondering why they didn't call up the 3rd place winner, because I wasn't even thinking it was because he had first, third. I believe he got 4th and 7th. He literally swept the board for like almost 400K total, and he almost got all 5 in this time, which would have been tough to beat. So he got 0 in, but he played the strategy that he would have been a very good spot if he got those through.
Yeah, and I assume playing that, you know the risk. Like that, I give that guy credit. Like that's respect right there. He played the same team on all 5. I know I wouldn't have done it. I know I would have done it a little differently, but like that was his probably way of doing it, where he's like, hey, listen, I get mine in and I get my chance to be first, third, and fourth and 7th again or something like that and have a good shot at winning. So I give him credit for taking a shot. All right, well, let's get into just kind of the week. We'll break down some of these winning lineups as we normally do. Before we do that, just give you my normal, hit that like button, that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe box, that red box at the bottom right-hand corner of the video. You just click that. If you click that, you'll get notified every time we go live for these free shows, which we do every single day pretty much. Monday through Sunday, we have free shows on this YouTube channel, football, MMA some weeks, NBA all throughout the week. We got all the sports here live. Check it out, Run Pure Sports on this YouTube channel. We give you guys a ton of winners. We're going to have another free show for the Showdown show later on today around 3 p.m., I'm assuming, with Big T, JT Hayes, and whoever is the guest for today's show. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that and click that subscribe button so you don't even have to just keep it up on the page. You'll just get notified when that show goes live, and then you just click it and you're there. So make sure you click that red box at the bottom right-hand corner and like the video. If you enjoy what we're giving out and the content we're giving, just hit that like button. It's a free video. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us on a Monday morning. So, all right, guys, we talked about it a little bit before we hopped on here about just the difference between this slate and the slates, honestly, that I've felt like has happened the last like 7 weeks in a row, were just so much chalk just crumbled on this slate. It finally happened where if you had been fading the chalk for weeks and weeks and getting burnt and you stuck with it, you probably had a decent week. I don't know, because a lot of chalk plays busted really badly. What'd you guys feel about this slate here? What things you guys do right? What things you do wrong? Tambo, I'll start with you.
Yeah, really interesting what you said. Like it was finally a week that the chalk bust. Not the good week for me, because that's what I was hoping with the 5 seats, to just get a bunch through, play it in a good way of doing it. And Josh Allen just seemed like the best. That was a really poor first half for the Bills. Like that was just very bad. You saw that. Same for the Baltimore game, the Ravens. I guess the biggest thing for me was the late news. The Gus Edwards is going to be out. This is what I think, JSU, like everybody knew the Ravens had this team total that was at home. It was a huge team total, off a bye, plenty of time to get healthy. We saw Mark Andrews where everyone was paying down and you could pay up. But even then, that didn't feel great because of how the news went on him back and forth throughout the week. So it was like, how can we get a piece of this Baltimore game? And I know I did it late. The Drake position where I just wanted to go. They actually didn't even end up really using him very much in comparison. They had Justice Hill. They went to Demarcus Robinson through the air. They had, he had his opportunities. It just didn't get there. But at the same time, it just wasn't the best. So little things like that sort of shaped the slate out. Josh Allen was still ended up okay, but not for him. It was more of like if you had, these types of lineups we were just talking about with him, Diggs, and Knox. Luckily, Diggs and Knox at least did something. The stacks did not come through. The one thing I wish I did that I've been doing these past few weeks, talking about it on the Off the Chalk show, and I did not do it this week, was play opposite side. We talk about it all the time. The whole world's on Josh Allen. I know Brissett's ugly, like it's from a DFS perspective, going to that side of the stack. I shouldn't just call the man ugly, but Brissett stacks can be ugly if you go to the opposite side of that game. But that was the one takeaway. If you had to just flip sides, it at least could have worked where you went to Knox or Diggs and just take what you get. Diggs was only 15, but 15 was a lot on yesterday's slate versus some of the other chalk when CD Lamb 9, Jefferson 6 or 7. Like, it was bad up there. So at least if you landed there, you got to spend the money somewhere. And then lastly, I'll add one more piece. Yesterday, all the chalk at wide receiver that was, let's think of some of them. Donovan Peoples-Jones still kind of got there, 17, but just naming some spots. Paris Campbell. Who else? Garrett Wilson, I guess. There was all these mid-tier guys at wide receiver that we knew were a little bit overpriced, but there was no super cheapies. But it was all the dudes in the same game. So Boyd was overpriced, but sort of the guy that people at least thought they could get to there. All these spots got crushed by the actual dudes. So like Paris Campbell did not have a great game. Michael Pittman started strong, only beat him by a little bit, but like Amari Cooper's the better example. Donovan Peoples-Jones got 17, but Amari Cooper got 34. Who else? Boyd didn't really get anything going, but T. Higgins got 27. Like, you could have just went to sort of that mid-tier build across the board. We know we had some mid-tier running backs that at least made sense on paper, but I don't know, from overall slate perspective, not getting to a lot of these plays in these smaller fields. Large field, I understand why people went to Tony Pollard, but you basically had to have Tony Pollard at 40 points or 39.9, whatever it was.
Well, the thing was, Tony Pollard wasn't really that highly owned, I think, especially on FanDuel. Like,
not at all.
He was 4. I see him at 4% here on DK in the 3-entry max sweep. So, I mean, he got 4.5, 4.6%.
I think he was like 5 even in the main Millie.
Yeah. So, he wasn't really that popular.
Hold on. Let's just, I think that it's just important to say that, like, if you look at the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, and I'm looking at the $100 SPY, 4,400 entries or whatever. What do you think their collective ownership was for yesterday? Tony Pollard, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Joe Burrow, Samaje Perine, Jacoby Brissett, Daniel Jones, and Najee Harris.
40%, the whole lineup.
50, 50%.
50%, the whole lineup, yeah.
Are you doing quick math?
24?
24.
Yeah.
I mean, even lower than we thought. Like, what week have we had that? I can't even think back. Maybe like week 2 or 3, that Miami week. The Miami
I don't even remember this
game.
year, to be honest. Nowhere near that. I remember one time in a Millie Maker where Twitter blew up and said it was over leveraged. They shouldn't have played a lineup that low owned because they sort of over leveraged themselves, but the guy won $1 million, so who cares? But this one, at least the winning lineup when we get there, made some sense. It's just, it's random that you had all these 5% and under plays all be the ones that were flaming up and the rest were crashing and burning. So, into the snowflakes. So it was one of those random weeks, but it's definitely, just a one-off. We haven't had it like all season long.
I didn't think it was that. I may be completely overthinking this and be told I'm incorrect, but I saw what Cincinnati and Pittsburgh had post-surgery, post-trade deadline, post-injuries, and I saw, like, I know the offensive line was the big concern for Cincinnati, but like, this is Joe Burrow, and like, we saw what Kenny Pickett's been doing, and it's been throwing it to 3 guys, and that's it. Like, he's only been throwing the ball to those 3 guys. So like, I played that game and I thought it was a good game, and I'm just a little like, I didn't want to, I felt like I wasn't overthinking it with that, because we saw Cincinnati missing guys and what they've been doing since, and that was Mixon, which ended up being Samaje Perine, plus their 2 wide receivers for the most part. And then we saw on the other side, Pittsburgh's down to basically 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and one of the 2 running backs. And so like, that's what was a little, I didn't understand necessarily the insane love for some of the guys in the other spots, except for that they've just been crushing all year for the most part. Like, we saw Kenyon Drake crush. We saw CD Lamb crush. We saw Diggs, like, has been crushing consistently. So I think that was what made people very interested in those plays more than anything else. I may be wrong, because I know many that y'all were on most of those plays, but like, I didn't necessarily understand the hate for the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game personally.
Well, I think
for
it
the
was
way
two
I
things.
play it.
I think it was two things, Kevin. I think, first of all, a lot of those guys were low owned because those offenses haven't been the best. Let's just be honest. They're missing guys. Chase, people have seen the offense without him, and it's struggled a little outside of the mix and explosion game 2 weeks ago. And then you got the Steelers side where I don't think people trust Kenny Pickett. And I like Kenny Pickett. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's going to be good. But you can't tell me that offense has looked amazing. You know what I mean? You can't do it. You can just tell me that, it's a condensed target tree, or there's not that many people after they traded Claypool away, after Chase is hurt. That's fine, but I think that's what it made people apprehensive. And then to your other point, the guys who have been highly projected have been crushing. Let's just be honest. Like, everyone's looking at the same crap. Everyone's looking at the same projections and seeing who's crushing. And the chalk is smashed literally the last 7 weeks. So people are going to go to those plays, and that's what's putting them on those plays a lot of times is just their projection. Everyone's looking at the same stuff. So, I mean, it was nice to see a slate where a lot of the chalk plays kind of didn't get there in a way, just because I think people are just too afraid to not play some of these guys, not play some of the wide receivers that were extremely popular, but again, expensive, and they still got wide receiver. To me, wide receiver chalk, I am way more comfortable fading expensive wide receiver chalk than I am any other position, really, a quarterback, a running back. I just think it's a lot harder in general. And it's a lot easier for you to find a way to get past it, even if they give a decent game. Like, an explosion game is still, something that it takes a lot. So we saw Jefferson explode 2 weeks ago. How many big catches did he need to actually explode? He had so many big catches in that game. So a lot of things need to go your way, I think, with the receiver chalk for the most part.
So the Pittsburgh side, so the Kenny Pickett Pittsburgh side, and I agree with you, but the thing that jumped out to me on him, number one, is I didn't play, like, his pieces were cheap enough that, like, I've been seeing Kenny Pickett throw 30 plus balls every single game that's like gone in this way, whether they're down, which I expected them to be losing, or it kind of shot out a little bit. And so I expected that. Plus he has a little bit of rushing upside, and I only played him with Freiermuth as the wide receiver or the receiving option because he was getting all the targets, which we saw. Like, the moment that they went down big against Cincinnati, they were down 2 touchdowns or whatever. Like, Freiermuth caught like 6 balls or four or 5 balls in that last 2 drives. I feel like I could be a little over.
No, you're right. You're definitely right. I watched it till the end, and that's 2 weeks in a row now. Well, it's basically Sans Chase Claypool that you've seen Freiermuth step up. Tomlin was, completely truthful about that. He said, well, I don't really care. I'm going to miss Claypool, but we think we have the guy to fill the role, and it's going to be someone like Freiermuth that can just do the same thing over the middle. The only thing I will say again, Fowler, I'll commend you. You made a great call. This is how you saw the game go, and it made sense with the slate to apply it against it. But again, you did this last week with the wording of, like, this is how these people got there. Nobody got there. It's like 2% of the field played this. Nobody played it. The ones that won got rewarded.
That's my point, though. So
it.
How do you not get it? No one was on it.
But
so
that's
like
what I'm
you
saying,
were the only one on it.
You're right, and you made a good call. And when you see it back, that's what DFS is. I love the call that you made. You see the puzzle. We all have the same puzzle to build, but we don't have the picture of what it looks like. We only get to see the picture after the slate ends. And that's what we're doing with this review. And I think you made a good call, but even Higgins, some of that Higgins 14% comes from late swaps. People that were on Lamb swapped to him to try and to see moves they can make. So even if he was 10 to 12% and got to that, he's like the only guy in the spot with, again, we know there's no Jamar Chase. Mixon had some ownership and the injury is unfortunate, but there was lots of other running back options. So people just didn't like the spot. Second division game, Minka Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt back from the week before, coming back into his second week healthy, who, by the way, one of the best interceptions I've ever seen of all time, that snag that he just had on Burrow, and they haven't looked that good. So either way, that's why people didn't get there. The ones that did get there or put that into their portfolio of lineups, this person with a single bullet just went after it. Good for them. But I'm just saying, it's not like people weren't, people were on it. They weren't. That's why everybody was so low owned. Same with Brissett, 0.6%. We have been playing opposite Josh Allen in other spots. We have been looking at value quarterbacks the last few weeks, starting with Ellinger leading up to last week. And now it's like this week, maybe a little Heineke, Daniel Jones. There was some talk of different guys there, Mariota, but Brissett, opposite side of the most popular quarterback on the slate. Pair him with his number one, Amari. Run it back with whoever, Singletary, Knox, whatever you choose to do. I get that. You still had to then go fill it out with Pollard. We're going to get it. Simon, you can even pull it up, actually. Pollard, Patterson, Pittman. Like, I think I can make some sense of this lineup. No problem whatsoever. I just think it's also, we just haven't seen anything like it because, to JSU's point, we've been watching the chalk just hammer every single week. So to see pretty much no chalk, not one person over 15%, it just is a shocker versus what we've been seeing all year long. That's all it is.
So well, that's the tough thing with DFS, though. That's the challenge of DFS. And that's like the mental side, is getting your mind to be able to say, this is super uncomfortable, but I'm not going to click this name, or I'm not going to click these spots. I'm going to go somewhere else. And like you said, Brissett was just too uncomfortable, I think, Tambo. I think people were fine clicking the cheap Donovan Peoples-Jones, but everyone else on that side, and this is the best part, like Josh Allen, if you play Josh Allen yesterday, you had to really think, in your mind at least, someone from Cleveland's getting there. I played a little Nick Chubb, because I was just like, okay, like, it's possible that Nick Chubb rumbles on the ground. He's going to be low owned. I just played, enough to, I was over the field on him, and, he could get 2 touchdowns. How does this game go where Josh Allen's in a shootout, right? How does this game go where, and it goes in ways, right? It's either that running side, or like you said, you take the cheap quarterback, and the cheap quarterback gets there in the end, obviously, because of the garbage time stuff. But hey, that's DFS, and that happens. So, like, those are the ways that you land, though, on the double stack of Cleveland, right? You probably don't land on a double stack of Cleveland without the quarterback. Like, you don't play Cooper and Jones, Donovan Peoples-Jones, in the same lineup normally without Brissett. Even though I am looking at the winning 3-entry max sweep team, and they did land on the 2 wide receivers with Justin Fields as quarterback, which I thought was interesting in the 3-entry max. They did land on that build somehow, and there was no Bills in the build at all. So it was kind of interesting build. But let's talk about this Millie Maker winner. It had Jacoby Brissett, what we were talking about, Amari Cooper, obviously. Michael Pittman was on it, T. Higgins, Conklin, Singletary, the Washington defense with Patterson too. Tambo, talk about this lineup a little bit, because we see some duds in there, and then we obviously see a lot of flames outside of it, but there weren't many other flames to get to on this slate. Like, you had to get the right guys, and a lot of them were not talked up that much.
Falik's chopping at the bit over there with this flex spot. I can already tell, but no, I
already knew it. No, I already saw it, and I was like, I'm not going to keep on going there. No.
Yeah.
Every time I do it too, I think about Kevin. I'm like, oh, Kevin's so mad at me right now. He doesn't even know. You should. He doesn't even know it.
It can be costly. I won't lie. So I'm always with Falik.
I know it can be costly.
Every lineup, it's definitely a thing. But hey, they got there either way. Pollard in the running back spot we're talking about instead of the flex. It's not a critique. It's just saying, well, it is, but it's saying, like, again, this person played a single bullet. So they just threw it together, said, I'm rolling with it. They're not going to change anything anyway. That's fine. Probably we're never going to look at late swap options either way. So the point being, it's fine. But if you put Pollard in your flex, it gives you outs to a wide receiver or tight end or something else there if you need to make a move down the stretch. So always something to look out for. But here's how I can make sense of it, I guess, JSU, is Brissett to Cooper with Singletary. I get it. You get that little stack set up. And then it's like, okay, Pollard, fine. Patterson, I don't think they're thinking of it like this, but it was a scary play. It didn't really, you could have just played the opposite side, and got there with 20 points and won by more. But just to bring up, I understood what people were saying about Patterson. I still didn't like that Tyler Algier and Huntley were there and playing good football. But the usual case, like we talked about with Brissett being opposite Josh Allen, is that with the chalk being known as Montgomery at 6,100, if you flip to the other side and play Atlanta, who's a great matchup, by the way, speaking of Tony Pollard, who they have in this lineup, he's the guy we played against Chicago just a couple weeks ago, who lit him up for 40, because you can run on the Chicago team here. And so going to the opposite side at much lower ownership for just $100 more and playing Patterson, you could make a case for that. I didn't love it because it still was a three-way timeshare with two really good running backs, even though the argument was there for the fact that they could have eased Peterson back in on the primetime game and then got him going full slate yesterday on the Sunday slate. But remember, 6 of his points came from the record-setting 103-yard kick return, which can't take it away. But I'm just saying it's not like the guy was getting a huge workload. I don't love it, but it still got there, and that's fine. I'm just saying why that play I didn't like on the slate yesterday. It's in the winning lineup, so I love it for them. Good for them. Higgins, no chase, fine. I like the balance structure. So this is what I was trying to say, JSU. I'm not sure if they were thinking like this, but saying, okay, no chase, I go to the number 1, it's Higgins. Everyone's playing Donovan Peoples-Jones, the number 2. I got the money for the number 1, Amari Cooper. Everyone's playing Paris Campbell, the number 2. I get the money for the number 1, Michael Pittman. Again, he just beat him and point per dollar. Paris Campbell beat him, but that's not the point. Everyone's on Garrett Wilson. Last time this happened that people were on it, they actually needed Garrett Wilson and Tyler Conklin. We had that winner on here last time, that winning lineup. This time they said, I'll just play Conklin. It's already a position where everyone's paying down and there's a bunch of chalk pay down options. Why not play one that leverages a little bit of a cheap wide receiver in Wilson? And then Commanders D, get off the chalk cheap Ds, get off the Saints at 3,000, get to the Commanders, and even some were on the Texans at 2,400 down below. So you flip that as well. So there's definitely a case to be made for how it got put together. I'm just not sure if that's how they were thinking, but that's why I can see it. Like it's not a bad lineup. It's a fine lineup, and that's why it got the job done. But I like it overall. Very, very solid lineup across the board, and not a lot of heavy correlation, but a lot of good situational stuff there where they did leverage stuff, whether they meant to or not.
Yeah, I will say I like the Cordero Patterson play yesterday. I had him in my player pool, and he did kind of split with Tyler Algier. It was really close. 54% of the snaps for Algier, about 49% for Cordero Patterson. So it was close to 50-50. They were pretty much on the field, about half the time. And I thought it could have been more too. I honestly thought because they played those 2 games, because it went from a Sunday game, his first game back, to Thursday, and they eased them way back from a snap perspective on Thursday. I thought because of that longer rest, he could have played more. Now he didn't. He played about 50%, which was more than he did on Thursday. Patterson did, but I thought there was a chance he could have played even more than that. So I was wrong on that perspective, but he did get at least more work than he got that last game on Thursday. So
yeah, that was the good argument. Our boy Scary Creations, always here watching the show. He said this. I think I disagree though. I think it's a good point. Falik, you can chime in too, but he said I'm behind on the video, but it wasn't that people were afraid of not playing the chalk plays. The chalk plays, a lot of them were in great spots. I thought yesterday was the most fragile of the season. It was just, it was situational, how you set it up. I mean, There was definitely other alternatives and options. For example, running back, you could name a bunch of good running backs, but I felt like Montgomery, and he ended up being the one that kind of got there, but I felt like he was the only one where you had a matchup against Atlanta, the potential to be like sort of even and keep Fields in check, like being kept in check because of the Fields ownership and his ownership, balancing each other out where neither really went off the board. And then on top of it, no Herbert being there. The rest of them, I thought you could make a case against. Like Ramondre did have Harris there. Who are some of the other chalk? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Singletary.
Brian Robinson was being talked about everywhere. And I think
with Gibson, Singletary,
I think
with them talking about moving Hines back in and having other guys in that spot. So I just thought, especially at running back at least, and then at wide receiver, you can always get off the spot there, like Jefferson at 9,100 after a huge game, Lamb at 75 after a huge game. It's not critiquing it. I'm just saying the point being, I don't actually think these chalk plays were great as what we've seen these other past weeks where it's been really hard to avoid. This was probably the first week that you could have made the case to avoid it. And there was lots of other options and ways you could go on the slate. So I don't know. I just would tend to disagree a little bit. Falik, you can chime in and then talk about the lineup as well.
No, I think that, so I'm just going to go into this with the full belief that this S. August person literally got a ticket by playing, like, do you remember back in the day when you were like, oh, deposit $100, you get a free ticket on us or whatever that DraftKings used to do? I'm like fully convinced that this person did that because I've gone into Results DB and cannot find him in any other contest when I search it. So I'm like fully convinced that he just like got the free ticket and like just threw this lineup in. And No, I have no problem with the lineup. I with what Tambo you're saying. I just think it's funny when you kind of think that way.
Yeah.
It's an interesting build overall. I don't think I would have gotten to a lot of these pieces with the way that they were built. I loved Amari Cooper, and I just couldn't figure out how to make that work. The one thing that I like, he got a lot of the pieces that ended up crushing on the slate. And when it comes to, we were talking about the flex spot, and I know for him specifically, or her specifically, it was going to be hard to change out, because you'd have to go from Pollard and Higgins to Devontae Adams. But like the moment that, and we talked about it before the show, but like the moment that Devontae Adams was ruled in, I was like, oh shit, he's gonna like smash this slate, and we're gonna have none of him. And nobody played him. He was like 0.2% owned. Like if he was not ruled as questionable and everybody thought he was actually really questionable, and he ended up playing, if it was a noon game, like how owned would he have been against Denver? Like I would say he'd probably been 15-20% owned probably against Denver, maybe a little.
Maybe everyone was talking about Surtain though too.
I was gonna say, I don't think anyone thought he was gonna be out. I just think it was just the product of the slate. It was the product of the slate.
I think it was the slate. The matchup maybe was holding some people
Diggs,
back.
Yeah, matchup too, but Diggs and Lamb, and even when people were getting tricky with it, Falik, it was AJ Brown. Why don't I just play AJ Brown as the squeeze play at 8,000 versus you had Adams at 8,100? And what's funny is Adams had a decent game last week too, but everyone went off Jefferson and Lamb's spot because they're in the same game in that area, in the dome, all that. So it's just funny how it always goes. But those guys did have that setup where you could have just played Adams.
Yeah. No, I just thought that was like the really, really interesting thing was like nobody ended up on Adams, but like this lineup, again, going back to this lineup, the only issue I have with it is playing Cordero Patterson naked is really hard for me, because he is completely, in my opinion, dependent on something to happen on the other side. So I would have wanted a piece with Cordero Patterson. So personally.
Yeah, it might just have been, though, how he kind of built out the lineup and where he was. Because if you think about it, a lot of those Bears pieces, they really didn't fall in any of those wide receiver ranges. He could have, I guess, found a way maybe to get Montgomery, but it might have pushed him off of a different defense or a different tight end or whatever. So
how much was Mooney? I don't even know how much Mooney was.
He was 5,400. That's what I mean. The pieces really didn't fit. Even Komet was more expensive than Conklin, so he couldn't have got to Komet. He couldn't. Like the Bears pieces, the only one he might have been able to get to was Montgomery.
Yeah, it's a 2v. It's a 2v2 from Pittman and Conklin to Komet and Mooney, but I don't think you want to do that.
It's literally Patterson to Montgomery. It's Patterson to Montgomery. That's it, because Montgomery was 6,100. Patterson.
Yeah, so I said earlier, $100, and he just plays the chalk in that one spot, but it didn't matter. All the other stuff.
It doesn't matter anyways. He would have gotten an extra 8 or 9 points though from that.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah,
and you would have had the secondary correlation too. That's just that's something, but it doesn't matter. He won $1 million, and it was a nice lineup that he put together, and a lot of low-owned pieces that no one was on. And maybe it was just that simple, Tambo. Maybe it was the theory of like everyone's playing a lot of these number twos. I'm just going to play the number one, and they're all going to be lower owned. And
it's a good strategy.
Maybe Falik's right. Maybe
it's not just what he was thinking, but on slates like this, when you're not as comfortable with it, and when we had, here's what my thought is though: the makeup of the slate allowed for it. Like we definitely had all these 5 to 7K running backs, and we had these $5,500 and $57 like Daniel Jones, type of quarterbacks and Mariotas and stuff that we could play to make that balanced structure where you didn't have to play the wide receiver 2s and 3s that you thought were overpriced. You could play the wide receiver 1s that no one was playing, that you had to hope and pray, but you could get Higgins, Cooper, Pittman like he did. They're all wide receiver 1s in spots where others were at least thinking about, besides Higgins. But again, people were playing, with Chase out, I at least understand it. But the other two, Cooper and Pittman, instead of Campbell and Donovan Peoples-Jones, is pretty sharp. Whether they meant to do it or not, it's just saying, like, I'll just play the actual number 1s and not the number 2s in the same game at ownership. So that everyone agrees is overpriced, but they need that value. And just a quick note too, JSU, before we go to Showdown or whatever else you want to do, but this is not really a week to take the optimal. I think somebody asked about like the optimal 48,900. It included Samaje Perine, of course, and guys like Demarcus Robinson. Like, you're not getting to that. So it's not really worth trying to consider.
Not without probably an opto, right? And they're in your player pool. Somehow they're in your player pool or something like that. Like,
yeah, it's just, I really have no clue how someone gets to Perine yesterday, and it's a product of the injury. So I don't know. To me, it's one of those things, but I just think, this was better to look at and talk through. It would be my point, and try and have some takeaways from it. So I'm glad we did that.
So Vincent in the chat says, I feel like JSU and KFALik think this winner is a piece of shit. It doesn't deserve it. No, I think the opposite. I'm really happy for this guy. I think, though, Falik's onto something where this guy this might have been his first actual contest, or maybe it's his first contest, paying money. Maybe he plays free contests or something like that. Because I know a lot of people do play just the free contests and just to dabble and stuff. You might be onto something, though, Falik. And then Chris in the chat says, I feel like Singletary was his last one in. Yeah, he probably was, because I know exactly how he built this.
I'm telling you, I'm just going to go.
He built this lineup just clicking it in.
I'm going to go in with the full belief that this person, and I'm not saying it's not a deserving lineup. I'm just saying it's not what I'm saying. I just think that this person literally has started playing or something like that, and got this ticket and was like, I'm ready to go.
For people like this, because this person probably is very new. I actually love it. This is awesome. He wins life-changing money. He hasn't probably played that much. I mean, come on. Imagine you just throwing in $20 for the first time or in a while or whatever, and just shipping with one team. That's the best story you could think of. I don't care what his lineup looks like in the end. He friggin' did it. He won $1 million. He had a lot of low-owned pieces. He faded a lot of, chalk that busted. Give this guy credit. I mean, he played Jacoby Brissett.
And if you guys aren't saying
0.6.
Yeah, you guys aren't saying this, but if the chat cares, you want someone that's playing a single bullet like this to win. It shows it's anything's possible. Insert Kevin Garnett, Jip, anything's possible. But I just say literally anything is possible, and that's great for the game of DFS, right? It's literally the fun part in it that anybody can come in on any given Sunday with $20 or however they got it, put together this team and ship. And then we talk about it and we move on to next week. It's great. I think it's the best part of the game and what makes it so incredible and fun. Will they continue to have this success? Maybe not. But guess what? Doesn't matter. They already hit for $1 million. So they're all set. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, I hope he pulls a lot of that money out and he spends it on some good stuff. Just don't leave it all in there. Spend it on some good stuff, pull it out and leave a little bit in, and have some spending money to play with. But
then
Jerry Matt in the chat trying to sell us on how Perine is a good play and not insane. It's literally insane. That's why nobody played him. He's $5,100 in this spot. You can say he has 3 games a year like this, so you're going to play him every week to try and pinpoint those 3 games and not have the nut pieces around him, because you probably don't have Pollard.
After Joe Mixon just scored 5 touchdowns. After Joe Mixon just scored 5 touchdowns in one game.
Play, and that's why he's not in this person's lineup. That's why we said we're not discussing the optimal. Nobody's playing that. It's literally the worst.
Here's the thing, though. I will just say, if you could think like that, right? If you're we're 8 games into the season, Samaje in the next 2 games is one of these 2 games he's gonna go off, because he goes off twice a year or whatever like that. Okay, that's fine. But how are you going to pinpoint that exactly? You're not going to pinpoint that exact day. You're not going to pinpoint everything going perfect where Mixon gets hurt, he gets in. It's just so hard to do, right, Tambo? It's just impossible to pinpoint that point. Now, listen,
also the main point I always make.
You can get lucky, though. That's different. But
I'm not trying to get lucky. It's the main point I always make, and I try and give it so people can have takeaways. It's not even a shot at our guy here, Jerry. I'm just messing around with him. But I'm saying that here's the deal. The optimal lineup had $1,100 left on the table. Samaje Perine was $5,100, did not have Montgomery in the optimal lineup. So all he does is pay the $1,000, go up to Montgomery, take the 10-point hit, and finish with 247 and still blow S. August out by 50 points. Trying to find the diamond in the rough, the gem, is going to cost you a lot more money. It's the same in golf. It's the same in almost all DFS, where people think when you need all these things to go right, if I just find that one gem or that one diamond in the rough, I win the slate. It's not true. because even if you find, you just said it's 3 times a year, you think P. Ryan's going to show up. Now, 18 weeks of the year, you're playing P. Ryan to hope to land on one of those 3 weeks that you're saying happen to then have all the other pieces go right with it. That's why I'm saying it's a horrible play, not results oriented.
I got a point to add to your point.
Go ahead. Yeah. Chime
which
in.
is my favorite thing is pay up to be contrarian. Well, look at what the Millie Maker winner did. He paid up to be contrarian. He paid up to be contrarian, literally, on this team. He didn't play Donovan Peoples-Jones. He played Amari Cooper, which I'm sorry, like Amari Cooper on this team was a must for sure. And then he didn't play Paris Campbell. He played Pittman. Pittman was fine, but the point is he played Tony Pollard. Like, he did pay up a little bit to be different. Like that is the point of this team, though. He did it with guys that maybe a lot of people weren't talking about, but no one ever said they weren't in play. There's a difference between not talking about and not in play. Samaje Perine, no one's clicking that name. Just no
Hang
shot.
up for probability. What you talked about, I talk about all the time, and I love it. And like I keep saying about this one, we can move on, I guess, but like this is the spot where it made perfect sense. Everyone knew buying Donovan Peoples-Jones and Paris Campbell at those prices was uncomfortable because we know they're not worth that. But the argument was there's nobody on the slate that's cheaper that's worth it, really. Maybe Hinton. I liked Hinton if he was going to play quite a bit. Someone like him made sense. I know you liked him, JSU. So little things like that I get. But when you could just find the balanced build that still stayed correlated, like Brissett with a wide receiver 1 and a run back, and then fill in the other mid-tier pieces that no one was paying up for to get the low ownership, it did make a lot of sense. So I think that is, the best part or takeaway from this. Even if this person didn't mean to do it, you can take this and apply it to your own DFS play when you're building your lineups and just thinking about roster construction. As I always say, not who you play, it's how you play them. In this case, the balanced build of getting the fair priced wide receiver 1s on similar spots versus the everyone's saying it, the overpriced wide receiver 2s that we just needed to make everything else work. And it was not the case. You did not need them to make anything work. In fact, it probably didn't work. And you might have scored less than 100 points like myself in some of those very disgusting lineups. And it's just the way it shakes out. It's one of those weeks. So good takeaways for the future, JSU.
Yeah, you know what else works? Hitting the like button. If you like this show and you want to keep it moving, you like the content we're pushing out for you, the thumbs work, Tambo. They can hit the like. Your thumbs work. Hit that like button, use it, help us out a little bit, and hit the subscribe button if you really enjoy and you want more content and you want to get notified when we come out with these live free shows. Just hit that red box at the bottom right-hand corner, click that, and you'll get subscribed to the channel. All right, let's get the Showdown winning lineup up there quick, and then we'll transition to a little preview of Showdown for tonight for the people. We'll give a nice little preview, and then we'll get out of here.
Get the Showdown shipper up there, Mr. JSU himself. Get that winning lineup up. JSU,
yeah.
always very humble and modest.
JSU and about 30 others. Let's go.
2 of the last 3 weeks, we're discussing JSU shipping the Sunday Night Football slate. So definitely excited.
I will say, I do love Sunday Night Football. I do love Sunday Night Football. I had a feeling on this game too. So I was flying back home. And I remember, I remember I was like, I said it to my wife. She doesn't listen to me though. She was studying, but I said it to her anyways. I said, I can't wait for this Chiefs-Chargers game. I'm really pumped for the Showdown slate. She's like, oh, great. Football tonight. Yep. Blah, 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 whatever. Travis Kelce to me is one of those guys when he's on primetime games, primetime Showdown games, I just always play a ton of. I don't know about you guys, but I just can't not. Like, he's just one of those guys when he's on prime time, Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whatever it is, I always play a lot of Travis Kelce. And this game, I feel like the Chargers, these games always go the same way. Our boy Big T put out a tweet. It's like the Chargers games, like they always end up doing this at the end, and it always ends the same. He's so
by 3
right.
Points, one way or the
Literally,
other. Yes.
like he was so right with that tweet though, because I'm watching the game and I'm just like, this is going exactly how it's been going for the Chargers. I feel like in all of these spots, like they always happens, and it happened again. And Travis Kelce, I don't know how he keeps putting up like these numbers, just consistently just smashing teams. I mean, when he's going off, he's going like nuclear too in some of these games and scoring multiple touchdowns. We don't see this from tight ends. There's a reason. This dude is just an anomaly when it comes to the position. And after he retires, we're going to take a big hit on the tight end position here because he is so consistent. It's unreal what he does. But Kevin, why don't you start on the Showdown lineup and talk about it a little bit?
What can you say? Just JSU shipper, just incredible. I think the big thing is, like, as joking aside, was there were some places that were like the flavor of the month kind of thing, the flavor of the week, and those were getting these 2 wide receivers back for the Chargers, and Tony. Unfortunately, 2 of them got injured. Like, that's the sad part of it. But like, there have been some very consistent pieces, and Palmer being consistent on what he's been doing for the Chargers, and we already knew the news that Keenan Allen was going to be limited. So I don't think that necessarily with Everett being out as well, like, I overthought it, but like, I could see why Josh Palmer is a very good play at 15% at that price tag. If you think that it's going to be a 3 wide receiver show again, like, I don't think that it necessarily needed to impact Josh Palmer in that spot. And then I thought that one of Sky Moore and or Justin Watson were just easy plays yesterday. I had one of them in every single one of my lineups. I probably should have had more than I did, but like, when you look at those 2, and then I always love me some Harrison Butker, and then the other 3 guys, like, I don't think there's really much to say about them. Herbert, Mahomes, and Kelsey were all great plays that I think a lot of people were on already. So that's the big piece, was avoiding the flavors of the week necessarily in this lineup were the big ones. Avoiding, and McKitty you could add to it as well, I guess.
He crushed me.
Were those big flavor of the weeks.
Yeah, McKitty crushed me. I really liked McKitty. I saw some stuff on him coming in, been waiting for a spot to play him. I had him pumped up in the pool even before the Everett news came out because I knew it was coming. I was like, this is going to be great. Let's get there. And this guy had a 0. I saw people ship some higher stake stuff with a McKitty 0. That's pretty crazy. But like, in general, I thought it would be a better spot. I like the Palmer call quite a bit, JSU, just because, look, even with those guys coming back, who knew how healthy they were? It literally took till game time to get the news pretty much. And then on top of it, it's not like he's just going to lose his role completely. And clearly that was the case. So, I like that. Obviously, Mike Will went out again, but I don't think that had anything to do with it. The touchdown that started the game, 50-yard bomb, keep this guy rolling. If anything, it opens space up for a guy like Palmer to work. So I like that you had him mixed in there. I think that was good. I was going to ask you though, JSU, I think you're a Pats guy, a big Gronk fan. Where does Kelsey rate in your heart versus Gronk? Or even if you aren't, what's your thoughts on the 2 of those guys? Because like you said, Kelsey keeps doing it, man. It's not stopping. Doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon either.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say I'm like a Pats fan. I don't root against the Patriots. I'm just not sitting in front of my TV watching the Patriots every week. I'm watching, like, I got the games on that I want to watch for my DFS stuff. But I will say though, Gronk is definitely one of my favorite football players of all time. I got a signed jersey right above me and a signed autograph in person too. I actually saw him sign it and everything. Gave me the whole thing. It was very nice of him. But I think he is the complete package. But Kelsey's obviously been doing it. Maybe like he's going to do it a little longer. But I think Gronk is the complete package tight end where the dude was just amazing at pretty much everything he did, right? He could friggin' block. He could run every route you needed him to. Kelsey, though, he's got more wiggle and stuff. Gronk was more of like a bigger, stronger guy. Kelsey's got that little like wiggle where you don't know if he's going in, out, and he's just that option. It's an option route, really. They've talked about it before, but him and Mahomes are just so dialed in on that option. Whatever way he chooses to go based on how the defender is the way he chooses most of the time. And it's just hard to stop because it legit is an option.
Gronk was a lot of fun too. Gronk is a fun, cheery type guy. Like, he has a great time out there. He's having fun with it, making faces and doing stuff. But even Kelsey yesterday, like hitting it on him as he's walking the ball in, he don't give a shit, man. It's so
They're
hilarious
both
just to watch him
fun.
play
They're both
football.
fun, but they're different for sure.
Yeah,
Like I think
definitely
they're
different.
they're different in a lot of ways, but they're both definitely fun. I think though, Travis Kelce, way more fire. Like he is a fiery dude. Like when he gets a plane, he just gets revved up. Like Gronk just wants to have fun all the time. Yeah. He's just the cool dude. He's laid back and he's like that. That's the cool thing about Gronk because I've actually got to meet him. He is like that in real life. He's super laid back. He's just chilled out. He's not all over the place. He's not jacked up all the time. He's a normal dude. He's just a chill, normal dude. Likes to have fun, likes to play games, sports, all that stuff. That's legit how he is in real life, which is cool.
Yeah, I like it. Falik, chime in.
Yeah, the only I think that you're going to see, like I know that you said it's going to be interesting when they're no longer there, but I think that with the athletic college football tight ends that are coming through, maybe it'll stick around more. We'll see. Brock Bowers is a name that I'm really excited to see in the NFL because we saw what George Pickens has been able to do outside of that Georgia offense, and James Cook has looked really fun and stuff like that. And hopefully Brock Bowers, he's looked incredible his entire time at Georgia as a tight end, and hopefully we'll see it come from him as being like the
My
next,
issue though is like the fantasy aspect, KFALIK. Like we just play these guys all the time at tight end because they're just by far the best. Like seasonal, you just draft them because you get so much edge on the field, or like best balls or whatever, because you got such a monster edge on the field with getting your consistent 15 to 20 points almost on a weekly basis, when a lot of guys tight ends are getting them 3, 5, 7, maybe 1 week they get 15 or 20, but it's just a huge difference. When these guys go though, the position, I mean, yeah, maybe some guys will come in and redo it, but it feels like every year we only get like 1 or 2 of them anyways. It's just a tough position. Like I wonder when all these sites go to wide receiver / tight end, like as opposed to just the tight end position. Yeah. I don't know. It might change. I have no idea. Maybe it won't, but yeah, I mean, anything else about this lineup? I thought the 4-2 was by far the best because of what Kevin said. It was tough with all those receivers coming back, pinpointing it down. And I think you were going to get probably one with a big game. If it was tough for like 2 of them with Herbert, in my opinion, unless it was McKinney, like a cheaper guy with one of the studs. Cause I like Eckler too. So this lineup, obviously like Herbert, but I thought 3 stud builds. So either the 2 quarterbacks, Kelce, Eckler, like 3 of those guys built with 2 cheap guys, and however it shook out with the final piece. And that's kind of how this build landed out. But yeah, anything else here before we move on?
Oh, congrats to you, man. Congrats to the other winners. We had some winners in chat that said they took it down in other places. So good for them. It was, again, a really nice lineup. And again, got the job done, is what it is. I think it's great. Move on to tonight.
Yeah, we had a dude, I think I saw in chat, he had 2 lineups in the $15, and this was one of his 2 lineups in the $15. I'm blanking on his name right now.
He played like $36 or $56.
Yeah,
incredible. He hit the winner with you.
Yeah, he had 30. I got it. It was Steltler DFS was his name, at least on Twitter. But $35 in play, ended up winning like, just over 17,000 or whatever this lineup was. So shout out to him because I saw him in the Discord and then he tweeted it. So shout out to him for shipping. That's pretty awesome. On $35 shipping that much. So, all right, let's get into this showdown game for tonight. We'll just break it down real quick. If you want the full breakdown though, stay tuned, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Big T, JT Hayes, special guests. They always go live on Mondays on this YouTube channel. So subscribe to the channel, click that red box at the bottom right-hand corner so you get notified for that show when it goes live. And then we got an NBA show later. Hardwood show, 4:45 Eastern time. And then we do the Up to Lock show at 6 p.m. Me, KFALIK will be on that with DC for the premium subs at Run Pure Sports. So if you want to watch that show, you've got to subscribe to Run Pure Sports. You can get in that Discord and we'll be in the live show chat answering all your questions all the way up to lock for NBA. Pumped to be back on the NBA show with my man KFALIK on Monday. So excited for that. But boys, we got a game to talk about here. This game, you got a few different pieces. I saw Hopkins confirmed, I think will play. I think I Just saw that a little bit ago. You got Kyler, who looks like he's unlikely or gonna miss.
He's
yeah,
out.
is he officially out?
Yeah, they said Colt McCoy's starting. I didn't see if it meant out or if it was something else, but I'm assuming that's what it meant. So
Colt McCoy starting. Then you get San Francisco, which we saw what happened to them. They were on a primetime game last week. I forget. I think it was Sunday night. But Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell. I mean, Elijah Mitchell got a ton of work in that game. Guys, I think more work than anyone was really projecting. Even the people that played him, they were playing him because he was $200, not because they thought he was getting almost 20 touches or whatever. He got 18 carries and 2 targets in the passing game. So he got a lot of work.
DraftKings noticed as well, JSU. They also noticed that he got more work because the price certainly reflects it now. But yeah, it's definitely one thing to think about for sure.
I mean, he got almost 20 touches. The price should reflect.
No, absolutely.
Of course.
I'm with it.
Yeah, we won't get away with that $200 this time is all I'm saying.
Well, what I'm saying, you guys, is does that continue, those 20 touches? I have no idea if it does. Maybe they're trying to make sure McCaffrey's work stays in check with him back now. They might view both these guys as RB1s, right? Where they're kind of going to split them just to ease off the workload a little bit. They really like Mitchell maybe. So it could be that. It could be them giving him more work.
You always say it best. People, and KFALIK says it too. We might not like it for fantasy, but they don't give a shit in the sense that it's not they have to protect their squad and get it where they need it to get a W, keep their guys healthy. It's a long season. They want to have opportunities. So, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You got to go ahead.
Who isn't protecting their squad is Arizona by getting rid of Eno Benjamin. So that's the big thing to me.
Why did that happen?
I don't know, but I don't know. And I know that we're talking about it just in general, but I don't necessarily care. All it does for me is when you look at DFS is one of two things. So there are two things that are jumping out on the page to me is the cheap guys that I think people are just going to, I hope are going to overlook today. One is Keontae Ingram, who is now the number 2 running back for Arizona. You either have to, I think you have to either play Keontae Ingram or James Conner. I think you have to. I don't even think it's a question that you can fade both of them or anything like that. One of them is in play, and you have to play one of them. That's number 1. Number 2 is Zach Ertz is out and out for the year, and people think are planning for Trey McBride, who is a great play, don't get me wrong, at 1K being in play, which I think he definitely is. Keontae Ingram, first of all, is 2,600. So I think he's in that odd price range also, if you think about it. But I think that he's definitely in play. And then on the tight end spot for Arizona, you got Trey McBride. And then you also have Steven Anderson, former Houston Texans, Steven Anderson, who is he was a good option for the team for a little while. I remember him being a nice receiving option. He got a lot of the snaps when Ertz was out last game. So he's 200. I'm so glad that Marquise Brown is out. That would have completely ruined this slate if Marquise Brown was in and they activated him from the IR at 200. So I'm so grateful for that. DeAndre Hopkins and Rondale Moore accounted for 20, I think it was 27 of the targets last game, something stupid from Colt McCoy. I don't necessarily want to say that's going to be the same thing, but 27 of 37 targets went to those two guys. So I think it's pretty, what's really making me happy is seeing that it's really somewhat condensed in what we can do on the Arizona side, at least. Playing these 2 wide receivers, playing a tight end, playing a running back, and that's really your options, in my opinion, for Arizona. If AJ Green beats me, he beats me, is going to be my theory behind it. I don't think the kickers are great plays because these coaches are freaking monsters and love going for it all the time. And so you got Robbie Gould, who I think is a tough play. And then on the other side, you got Matt Prater, who I think is a tough play based off of what we've seen all year from these teams. So I think it's an interesting slate overall because you got the San Francisco mess, as I like to call it. It's a mess, and there's no other way to put it. It's an absolute mess, but it makes it fun because you can choose to avoid the mess if you want to, or you play a few pieces of it and hope they hit. But I think Arizona is a lot tighter now with what has happened to this team injury wise. Is really nice to look at.
Yeah, we got a few comments in chat about the little tight end discussion we have, and there's some good comments in here. I think it's interesting though. People are talking about the quarterbacks and the systems that Kelsey and Gronk got to play in. Yes, are they great coaches, great systems, great quarterbacks? Yes. But we can only talk about the hand we're dealt. Yes, if they went to Houston and had to play with Davis Mills, would they be as good? Probably not. That don't mean that these guys aren't freakishly gifted. That just means the numbers would probably be lower. They would still have a little bit of production because they're just ultra talented. But that means that, their numbers would not be as inflated or higher as they are with those stud quarterbacks, but it doesn't diminish the player. Your point though is valid where it's
like he said, I always like my guy Scary Creations, but he says neither do anything. It's totally different. These guys got they're a different type of cat, different swagger. Go look at Gesicki getting touchdowns and hitting his grit version of the gritty. And yes, he's making fun of it. Got no swag whatsoever, though. This guy, and he's got Tua, so it's a good quarterback, but he just ain't the same dude. I'm saying these guys would find theirs. Coaches would find ways to get them the ball. They're definitely better than what you're saying. And yeah, the quarterback matters, but like JSU said, you can't change the hand that you're dealt. They would not do nothing with a bad quarterback, though. They would still be involved heavily.
It would feel like nothing compared to probably the numbers that they're getting now, I think is more his point. They wouldn't do nothing though. Like they would definitely still do some stuff. It just would feel like maybe nothing compared to the numbers that they have is the point.
Maybe but, I think they're fine either way. Like that's what I'd say, but yeah, we can move
pretty
on.
much. If you go to a shit team like that, it's going to be tough. But
who would be
Ravens?
My argument is who's the comparable? Who's a tight end on a bad team right now that you think could be better?
That's the Ravens find a way to get Mark Andrews the ball, and the Raven, you can make the case that Lamar can't throw to the outside.
Yeah, people say Lamar shit, and then our Andrews still crushes. Who is a tight end on a bad team that you think would just skyrocket if he got put with Patrick Mahomes? That's how you have to think of it. There is guys that you could make. I mean, because it's Patrick Mahomes.
Definitely
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, well, I think if you put Kyle Pitts on a lot of teams, he would skyrocket because this is the worst team ever for him.
For sure. Who else?
That's
why I think it's harder to think about.
David Njoku with a great quarterback, I think could be really good. I think he's got so much talent.
Njoku or Pitts or anybody being sort of the same way that like a Kelsey is, with the swagger of what he did when he got those touchdowns last night, like I said, and hitting this on them as he walks in like the old Tyreek 2 and then throwing the ball off the wall. Like that to me.
Do you see him, K-Fal? Hitting this thing on him
Robert Newning just said Conklin. Oh man, I could not disagree.
That's what I'm saying. It's not as many names as you would think. That's why I think it's funny to talk about.
I think it's tough because we see a lot of these guys. But I think it's tough though because we see a lot of these guys in this diminished light, right? It's hard to could Patrick Mahomes make, I don't know, Irv Smith look really good? Maybe. I
think that argument works better though for like a Julian Edelman. He's a wide receiver, not a tight end. But I'm saying, Brady was bringing guys in off what people would say from the grocery store in to play wide receiver.
We know Julian Edelman would look different in another spot.
Yeah, and he makes them look better. But I'm talking about these talented tight ends. Like, that's where, to me, it's like, I don't know. They're just different, man. That's how I see it. And Pitts was a good example. I think Pitts, for sure. After that, I don't know how many we got that we can talk about. So, yeah, interesting topic for today. It was fun. But
all right, Tambo, Showdown. Let's hear it. Tam, I want to hear JSU's last because we got to let the winner go last so we can leave it in our heads so we don't lose it. Tambo, what are you doing for Showdown?
I don't even know yet, man. I'm just looking at the slate for the first time. I think Colt McCoy. I'm gonna mix it up. I wonder how this will go. I know that the other side is the big favorite, but I think that Arizona pieces are still, it's going to remind me more of what we talk about every time, Falik, but you can use him. You've got some of those Arizona pieces that are cheap enough to still make it work. So you don't have to go all 5-1 or 4-2 or something here. I don't think, at least. So, not too many hot takes right now. I'll have the attack plan on the slate tonight. I'll line everything up, but I haven't dug in enough. First glance at some of the stuff we talked about, the price bump to Mitchell. I agree with you on the kickers. I do think that. I know somebody in the chat asked about the field conditions, but usually we get some scoring in these games. And so I will see a bit more of a back and forth, which to me takes the kickers out of it a little bit more. Maybe the defenses, though, can still be in play based off of that. We saw what was it, the Rams Chiefs game that time, where the defenses both still put up, I think, 20 points each because of the opportunities they got from all the passing and the back and forth. So I think that's an interesting angle. And then I always like, if we just talked about all these tight ends, I'm going to George Kittle. I still like a little George Kittle. We've said it all season. You want those back and forth games that you can play him in. And I think this is one that we could see it. $7,000 in the flex, put him up in the captain. I'll go right back to it here on this slate. So I do like George Kittle.
Tight ends versus Arizona. Always remember that as well.
So I think this slate is hard for a few different reasons. One, because I think we're all going to view this game similarly with San Francisco. But San Francisco is really tough from the standpoint, they've got so many good players. Like, look at this team. It's loaded. I've been trying to make Deebo Samuel work. It doesn't work when there's this many pieces. I remember it was last Sunday. So he got his first catch in the middle of the third quarter. How the hell does Deebo Samuel not get a catch until the middle of the third quarter? Someone like him, where you can just give him a little like bubble screen, like any type of little screen action or something to get him the ball in space and get him moving. I just don't get it. But it just hit me like there's just too many guys. There's too many really talented guys that now Mitchell's back and he's getting a ton of work. They've got McCaffrey. They've got Ayuk, who's been pretty consistent this year, especially recently. I mean, you can make the case he's been one of their more consistent players for the year. Kittle, like you guys said, it's more of a matchup thing, but he's been up and down, this year. It's just a tough thing to kind of pin down right now. So I do want to see how ownership shakes out. I think, though, Ayuk and Kittle, to me, maybe make the most sense from the standpoint. I think a lot of these teams are keying in on McCaffrey, Samuel, maybe puts them more in play just with the lighter coverage they're going to see. And like you said, the matchup for Kittle obviously is really nice. And then I'm with KFALIK on the cheap dudes for Arizona. I think they're probably better plays. I think Keontae Ingram at 2,600. I hope that price tag almost like keeps people away from it when you got the cheap tight end at 1,000. Because this game could go away where maybe Keontae Ingram just gets a ton more work because it's out of hand or whatever. I mean, you never know too. Like maybe James Conner gets hurt. He gets a ton of touches. Maybe he gets nicked up and it's more Keontae Ingram now for sure. So I'm definitely going to be playing those cheap guys. And then San Francisco, it just stinks because I want to find like one Arizona captain like I can think about playing. That's going to be that's what I'm going to try and do is one Arizona guy I could see being like in the captain winner. Because I don't know about you guys, but like who's the one guy everyone's going to go to for Arizona? It's got to be Hop, right?
Yeah.
Like if anybody,
I'll go to Rondale Moore or the cheapies. If you think, because again, San Francisco is so condensed, or at least usually you still are going to have to pick your poison on the Ayuk versus Deebo versus et cetera. But it's within that mold that if you want to go to the cheap Arizona captain just to get it there, that's another angle I would look at as well.
Yeah. I mean, I could see the cheap angle, I guess, but yeah, Rondale Moore, maybe it is Rondale Moore. I do think Colt McCoy, his style of quarterback play, it fits Rondale Moore like perfectly from that standpoint. I think a lot of shorter routes where it's just quick, get the ball out, which they're going to try and do again, I'm sure. So yeah, maybe it is him. Maybe he is someone I'll put in my pool and stuff like that. But it was interesting. Robbie Anderson, he got way less work. I think it was last week. I'm pretty sure he got a ton less work. So yeah, it just might be those two receivers. It might be as simple as FALIK kind of broke it down where there's not as much from Arizona. You're going to have more San Francisco. I think that's one of the reasons, though. Like if people 150, I think it's tough to kick the kickers out of the pool on this slate. I think it's tough. But if you're building the way FALIK builds, more like just 1 to 3 lineups or something like that, yeah, just pretend like they don't exist. I agree with you kind of on that standpoint. So
that's what I want to say also, I think that before we head out, I think that the defenses are just as hard to play with how these offenses play as well, where number one, San Francisco's establish it, but also They don't throw bombs. They don't like try to do the 5-step back. They're like, you're going to see a lot of 3 steps and toss it from both of these quarterbacks today. So playing one of these defenses, watching them go off, but you're not going to have as many opportunities as I think we expect for defenses to get sacks and stuff, which are the things that you want to depend on more than you're depending on hoping to get a touchdown or something like that to smash. Like the sacks opportunity is what you want. So
yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I think San Francisco, it's really tough. Which stud is going off on this slate for San Francisco is definitely going to be a tough thing to pin down. And I think McCaffrey's a good example of someone they need to be like, for his massive upside, it needs to be the right type of game script now that Elijah Mitchell's back, because we've seen it. They're going to give Elijah Mitchell some work to make sure McCaffrey's not getting overworked, I think. And They're probably trying to build his confidence up too, being out for so long. They're trying to build him up, get his feet wet a little bit more with being out for so long. So yeah, it should be interesting. We'll have all our content up on the site. Tambo slate plan attack for tonight's showdown slate. KFALIK's 3 max. He'll give out his cores and who his captains are, how many he's playing in his 3 in his little write-up. So check that out on the site. You'll have Big T's player pool, core plays from all of us, me, all the other coordinators we got over at Rumpier Sports. I think Mangone does a 3-max strategy as well. So check all that stuff out. We'll have it all up on the site later tonight. And don't forget, Showdown Show, 3 p.m. Eastern time with Big T, JT Hayes, and special guests, always on this YouTube channel on Monday afternoon. So make sure you check those boys out. KFALIK, final thoughts here as we wrap it up.
Let's do it, and hope everybody has a very happy Thanksgiving. Make sure you take the time to enjoy some good food and some good football. There are 3 really solid games on Thursday, so I'm pretty pumped for that too.
Yeah, Tambo, what are you most grateful for?
Grateful?
Yeah.
For me, it's always the same thing, buddy. My wife and my family being so supportive, allow me to do what I do, have the opportunity just to come down here, hang out with you guys every day, talk through it, be dialed in, go after these wins, pick up these trophies. I couldn't do it without my family, my wife. So always grateful that I'm in the situation that I am, for sure.
So Tambo gives the more practical, correct answer for that question. But we were out. I'll just leave everyone with this story. We went out to St. Augustine. Me and my wife. We met one of our buddies' kids who goes to college up at Flagler. We met him. It was his freshman year, so we wanted to meet up with him. It was, being away from his parents and stuff. And his parents are good friends of mine, so we met up. Took him to breakfast or whatever. And the lady, we put the order in, and the lady just spot on asked me, "What are you most grateful for?" And I was like, "What? On the spot here? Like right now?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Food." And my wife just looked at me, and I was like, "What?" It was easy. We're about to eat right now. So it was probably not the right answer, but I don't think if she got asked the question, she would have said me or the family. I think she would have said like my dog or something. New husband
like alert. We can tell you're brand new. It's okay. You'll get a pass. You'll learn, buddy. But that's okay.
Is that bad? Reggie. I was hungry. All right. Food. How good is food? I said, "Hun, you would have been second." Probably shouldn't have said that. But all right, that's going to do it for us. For me, JSU, Toe Tag, and Tambo, and KFALIK. Good luck to everyone this week, and happy Thanksgiving. We'll see y'all later. We're out.